Welcome to Ex Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us in yet another edition of Ex Machina. Joining me in the house is Robbie Rip Rains and Carrie Pocket Doc Davis. You can tell we're triplets. We got the gray in the beard, got the cowboy hats. Only two of us are wearing glasses. Doc's the pretty one of the three. Mom always doted on the frowner. If y'all got that reference, 50 points.
That's correct, sir.
So how the hell you boys doing tonight?
Wyatt, I am rolling.
Glad I'm back home.
I think I'm more of a Virgil than a Wyatt. I think you're the Wyatt of the group. You're the pretty one. Robbie gets to be Morgan.
I don't know about that. I got a face for radio, man. Come on.
I always thought I was more of a Virgil. Just because I'm grumpy.
Yeah, you should get me in traffic and hear how grumpy I am. Glenn Dennis already hit the nail on the head. Glenn, we are gonna jump right on that. That is the reason for the topic tonight. The topic for tonight is, are people going missing in the national parks, and why is the government covering up? And that is a damn good place to start with that one from the other night. The other night, for those of you who are watching, during the live broadcast, Robbie and Johnny were broadcasting from LBL. We had some really strange power outages. Like 3 different utensils batteries went completely dead. The only way they could stay broadcasting was by actually plugging into a power inverter on a running car to keep current going, because all the batteries in the laptop, Robbie's phone, and the big power deck that they had, the storage battery, all 3 went dead within minutes. And one of them was at 100%, one was at 70-some%, the other was at 50%, just seconds before we started the show. So weirdness right there. But for those of you who are watching, during the show, Robbie was told that there was a man and his daughter had gone missing on one of the trails. They had gone down in the bottoms and separated from their group and hadn't come back. If you've noticed that we talked about Robbie might have to take off, and eventually they did. But they waited until there was an actual search plan put in place before they took off, because the last thing you want to do is go half-cocked off into the woods. If you just go, somebody's missing, and go off running and don't make a plan and don't let people know where your search grid is, where your rendezvous point is, when you're going to be back, if you don't do any of that, you're not helping, you're probably hurting, because then they're going to be sending someone else out to look for it. But they don't. Well, I'll let Robbie tell that story. Robbie, they asking if they ever found the people.
Well, I don't know. And this is why, there were some people in chat like, why are you still sitting there? What's going on? This is why you don't run off half cocked, like DA said, and just as soon you have to wait for some things to go on. Because what we were told originally was that they were only like 5 or 10 minutes away from us. So once we finally take off and start going, we're about 20 minutes into the trip, and we still ain't got to where they're supposed to be yet. The call comes in, this was up in the very upper end. So it was about an hour to an hour and a half away from where we were sitting. So there's not really much that any of us could have even done, because by the time we would have gotten there, the SAR teams were already there and things were already. So they told us, don't even worry about it. We've got everybody we need. So, and no, Naomi, it was not your fault. There was plenty of people that contributed to that, and I don't mind going and helping, but people just have to understand that it's not, you don't just, in a situation like that, any kind of situation, but especially a situation where you got possibility of things like this pacing people out and being, because we were just talking about what we saw the night before. So that's not a situation that you're just going to run into. You need to make sure you've got everything,
all your plan in place, and you stick to it.
All your I's dotted and all your T's crossed. Because if you don't, like DA said, you're going to add to the problem. There's going to be more than just those people. So now, to answer the question of whether they found them or not, I don't know. I don't know that they
once local
show back
once local law enforcement and the park rangers got involved, everybody else got told to go back to their camp. They didn't allow anybody to get involved with the search. They shut it down. And here's the funny part. There's still no mention of it in the news. None.
So
That's even more weirder.
Oh, the part that I found very suspicious is Robbie said within minutes of him taking off, there was a chopper in the air. Now, I've dealt with search and rescue before. I've met, talked to a lot of guys from search and rescue, and I've gone to a few events where they were taking volunteers to help look for people in the woods. It generally takes the better part of a day to get a chopper.
That's what I was going to say. That's a pretty fast response.
There's not going to be one out there while it's still dark within minutes of the people being reported disappeared.
I mean, that means
that chopper in the air.
They had something nearby ready to get spooled up right there.
That chopper in the air is a big red flag.
Full transparency. I don't know 100% that was a SAR chopper, but it was heading in that direction.
Thank you, Roxanne. And
it flew over top of us. So take it for what it's worth. Most of us looked at it and it looked like a SAR chopper.
That's a quick spool up for a SAR chopper.
You could see the big searchlights hanging off the sides of it, and it was heading in that direction.
Funny, Morgan. But it is close enough to Fort Campbell that they probably could have got a military chopper there. AJ, hey, thanks, AJ. And we're getting a bunch of sponsors up. A shop popping up tonight. Raftmaster 23, thank you, sir. Lene says, DA, do you believe they were never found? Is why there's no news on it? Yeah, I think they already know what happened to them. And I don't have permission to use the name of the person that sent this, but they are in the chat tonight. So if they want to give me permission to mention to use their name, I will. But I'm going to read something that was sent to me. This happened within a day of what happened with that group of missing people in LBL. Said, going through Devil's Backbone, all was good going in, but coming out was trailed by something large in the creek. Then it went up the hill behind some brush, but still couldn't see, could still see it. Drew my pistol and told it to leave or it would die. It went back down the hill after I said this. Still, it followed me out. So I heard tree knocks every 5 minutes. A family went in the creek with their child at the trailhead about dusk. I waited for 30 minutes for them to come out, but they never did. One of the group members went out there later to check, and their truck was still there. Local law enforcement was notified about the situation. There's no mention of that in the news either. Those have to be two separate incidents. Because the other one was a father and a daughter.
I think that's the red truck story Naomi was talking about. And I don't know if that's the same. Because when I heard about it and found out about it, DA, you were sitting right there. You heard what I heard in that situation. And I didn't hear much more clarifying things from the time I left the show to the time we got to wherever we was when they turned us around. So, it could be the same one that Naomi was talking about. It may be a separate one. I don't know. All I know is
even if it is the same story, it's really bizarre that happened within just a few miles of where you saw that green eye shine.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, real close. And they are north end of LBL.
Robert, we don't know if they did or didn't. That's what we're saying.
No information after that came out. Once the park rangers and local law enforcement got involved, it got completely shut up. And I have been doing some deep digging in Google, and I found nothing in any of the local surrounding news media about any of them.
Yeah, and people have been blowing my messenger up. I do not know. They didn't tell us anything other than whoever called Greg to say they didn't need us anymore. Said, don't worry about it. Law enforcement's involved. That's all we need. Because what we heard was and now that I think about this, Naomi, now that you said that, I do remember Greg saying when we were headed to the spot, he's like, we'll go down there, and if there's a red truck down there, then all hell's going to break loose. If there's not a red truck, then we're all good. So that happened. I guess that was the same story.
Ginger, that was at LBL, Land Between the Lakes.
Naomi just brought some up. If the green eye shine was close to where you guys saw the green eye shine, the red truck incident happened at the opposite end of the park.
Yep. Yeah, because we went the opposite way going towards where we were supposed to go from where we can't. You know where that campsite is, DA? You said where we were at Colson Creek. Okay, when we came out, if we went left, we would go back towards the Bumbers Bay, where the eye shine was. But we turned right going towards
Colson's Hollow is closer to the southern end of LBL, so that's pretty far away.
Here's a good question. We were talking about this on the
yeah, Nail. That's
Robbie, this is a good one for you.
If that's Devil's Backbone and the other incident took part, because you said the other one was in the northern part, that is two separate groups.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be.
Yeah, because
they're a better part of an hour apart.
Yeah, because Clarksville's right there next to Fort Campbell, where the Night Stalkers are.
We drove all the way into Tennessee at one point before we. So. We didn't.
Audacious Amber, there are charts that'll tell you about it. Doc can tell you more about the medical end of it. It's called tapetum lucidum. And from what I've read about it, granted, I'm no medical expert, but from what I read about it, there are specific breeds that will show certain colors. Deer will show one color, canines, but it also varies with their diet, from what I've heard.
So that incident, if that's the same incident, was the one that was up in Clarksville, Tennessee, part of the park. So,
Casey Calloway says, "How much ground can a critter like that cover? More than you think, I imagine." Well, a mountain lion has a range of about 200 to 250 miles.
Wow.
Well, I know how much ground that big critter covered the Friday night before that. Pretty quick.
Yeah.
Kirsch says, wait, so two separate sets of folks went missing, possibly unalived that night? That's what it's looking like. But I can find no reference to either incident in any of the local media. And how fast? I think it was within a day of each other.
Mm.
I mean,
that to me, that's just if it is the same incident, which I really don't think it is, since one was supposed to be in the north end and the other is obviously down in the southern end of LBL. So I don't think it's the same incident. But even if it was the same incident, to find nothing on it, even a mention of local search and rescue were called in to help find a family, that kind of thing. I'm not even finding that. Eating testament says they need to send in the wild hunt. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one of us was already there. I mean, they tried. Scalp hunter went for it, but they called us off.
And and this is just and you're not going to find Land Between the Lakes pop up in a missing 411 because it's not technically a national park. It's a public use area administered by the National Park Service.
So
it's not technically a park. Yeah. Essentially, it's a national park, but it's not a national park.
But
it's
not
considered,
technically.
Right? It's not technically a national park. It's a public use area. Robert D says, so if the second one happened, how many of the group were in that group? They were saying it was a family. So I'm going to guess, husband, wife, and at least one kid.
We heard mother and daughter, or father and daughter, from what we were running to that night from the show. Then other things are saying, so who knows? And that there again, that's another reason that you just don't go run off as soon as you hear something like that, because if you hear father and daughter, but you're actually looking for a family of four, then you may miss somebody. You grab two people and they're in shock or whatever, and they can't tell you that there's two other people missing. So I mean, you have to, like I said, I understand people, but when you're in those situations and there's plenty of people in this chat that have been in those situations. They can tell you you don't run off until you have or as many answers as you can possibly get. And no, Miss Lene, we couldn't find Gray Eagle. We looked, but we didn't find that dang portal nowhere.
You needed a Margolin.
Yep.
And at least you didn't find any of them dang spiders either.
Yeah. Yeah, ain't that the truth?
I'd rather dealt with the wolf.
Doc helped me design those spiders.
Damn it, Doc.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, we had a late night conversation. One of our many infamous late night conversations on that one for sure.
I had the idea of spiders, and with the skull instead of a fiddle like a Black Widow. I was saying, what if they gestate inside the skull and then wear that like armor until they get big, and then once they get to a certain size, that skull just remains part of the carapace. And then Doc's like, "Oh, you want to make this nightmare fuel?" And he starts talking about different venom, and I'm over here just scribbling notes as fast as I can scribble.
Y'all are some sick, twisted individuals.
So Doc, I made him scary. Doc made him deadly.
It's all right. When you get ready to add snakes, you know who to talk to.
I know, right? Yeah, either you or freaking Ken, because Angie read that scene with the spider, and she had like her legs all pulled up. She's like, "No, these spiders are horrible," because she hates spiders like I hate snakes. So
she's a smart woman.
Yeah, she is. I found a bunch of Black Widows out in the bar when we first moved in. She came running. "We got to burn it down. We got to burn it down. We got to move."
Sonya wants somebody to find Gray Eagle.
Dacious Amber says, "Did you guys see where they blow the death whistle down in LBL and something screams back?"
Yeah.
I did not. I would like to see that video.
Nope.
Well, we know that when you hoot at something, you get hooted back at.
Even if it's a non-indigenous bird.
Yep.
That's what's really creepy. Because what have we always known? That those things we've heard, not known, but we've heard they're great mimics.
Mm-hmm.
At least twice they are. Third time, not so much.
Twice.
Third time, they're just like, screw it.
I'm getting hungry. Man, that's crazy.
That whole, from the time me and Johnny got down there on Wednesday and went in those woods at the Mumbers Bay, that was just the weirdest feeling place. It's weirder than Joe Bald, Doc. It is creepier than Joe Bald.
He's not wrong. And the really bad part is Joe Bald is only about 100 acres. It's a lot of creepy crammed into a little area.
Yeah.
LBL is like 275,000 acres.
This is a lot of creepy crammed into a lot of acreage.
Confined to basically an isthmus sticking out between two lakes.
And this, what was weird about it,
that
me and Johnny were talking about, we talked about with DA, that when we were at the Mumbers Bay, he brought it up. He said, "Man, there's not even any ducks out. There's no aquatic birds. There was like one or two little small Tweety bird type things, and you could hear. I took a video. You can hear a crow way off, like probably over a mile away, and one little bird, and that's it. And then we found all those fish bones and stuff like that we found.
But Robbie put his knife next to that fish's head. I mean, it was like holding this up next to mine. I mean, that was the orca, and the orca next to that fish's head. It was like, Jesus Christ, that's a big fish.
Yeah, Johnny said it was probably about a 10, 15 pound fish.
Someone dragged ashore by a freaking trash panda. It was as big as the damn trash panda.
But the thing is, we found 3 or 4 skeletons, but there was tons of their bones all over the place. But other than that, nothing. Johnny found an old armadillo carapace, and that's about it. But there was, now when we went over to the other side, all kinds of, we found hog roots. Obviously, they got the bison and elk prairie that they got over there. Apparently, the deer work second shift over there because you didn't see them during the day, but you dang sure saw them at night. But here's the funny thing about that, Doc. I was telling DA about this. When you usually see a herd of deer at night, what's the number of deer you see in that herd?
anywhere from 8 to 10, 8 to 12.
Try 15 to 20 or more. Every single one of them. We saw
They're
probably
grouped together.
We probably saw 6 or 7 separate herds, and there was no less than 15 deer in each one of those herds.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
John Boatwright says, any data on what percentage of missing were unarmed? LBL prohibits firearms, unfortunately. That's the thing.
No, they
the
don't.
National Park Service, not exactly forthcoming with information.
The LBL does
you
not
can't-
prohibit firearms.
They just prohibit hunting.
Yeah, no, you can hunt. It's just you have
Certain
to
times
hunt
of the
in
year.
certain spots and certain times of year. They do not. It openly says you can carry a pistol anytime, but you can only carry your long guns at certain times in certain places. So no, they do not prohibit firearms.
Actually, Annie Venom Bush signed in the thing. Bush 45 or Bush whatever 43 signed in the thing, the national parks thing, where you can carry firearms in national parks. That's been about 20 years ago or more.
But that goes back to what we
Can
said.
you technically make a 458 SOCOM pistol?
Oh yeah.
Well, there's a freaking 45-70 Derringer.
Yeah. There's a 45. There's a 45-70 revolver. 5-shot.
Tell you what I really want to get is that 45 the 458 SOCOM bullpup.
I know, man. And unfortunately, that my buddy Freddie's going out of business, man. He's so I don't know if that's going to go the way of the doo-doo.
Have you boys seen the newest gun that Scott from Kentucky Ballistics tested? The 950.
Oh yes, I did see that.
950. That's almost an inch in diameter.
I'm talking the shell is about that big, and about that 4 of them together make a pound. 2,500 grain, I think. What did DA?
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, that's pretty freaking massive.
Go to Kentucky Ballistics, Doc, when you get a chance. It's his newest video. That son of a gun is huge. It's a bench fired rifle. The rifle itself weighs 50 pounds, and it's got that flat bottom stock on it, so you can sit it down on a table and fire it off a table. And it's still as big as Scott is. He fired it. It knocked him back about 2 feet. It's got 300 pounds of felt recoil at the shoulder.
The Camo Dad 72 says 950. You're getting to the range of small cannons.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We're gonna. I'm telling you, if you get one of those, we're gonna have to find us a Toyota Hilux somewhere.
Yeah, that's like a crew. That's crew serve right there at that point. Good Lord.
It's the largest sporting rifle that you can get right now.
Yeah, but imagine trying to afford it. I bet that's probably a $10,000 gun.
Yeah, kills on one end and maims on the other.
There's only like 3 or 4 made, and he's got one of them. So, yeah, they're going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah, that's screw you, screw your cover, screw the building you're standing in front of.
And could you imagine how much the shells cost for that damn thing? Good Lord! I mean,
every one of them's a house payment.
My 338 low pull Magnum. Every time you rack the bolt on that son bitch, it goes chick-ching. You know. Good.
That's like a punt gun range.
It really is. And Kay Bowers said 300 pounds of felt recoil.
Yeah, 300 pounds. That's what I said.
That's a great big bundle of no thank you.
300 pounds at the shoulder. That's what I
Kevin
said.
Boat says doesn't sound sporting. Depends on what you're shooting at. I wouldn't shoot a deer with it, but I wouldn't say no to using it on a Cape Buffalo.
I've bench pressed 300 pounds, and trust me, that was a slow burn. I don't want to have anything 300 pounds coming at me in a hurry at all.
Yeah, that's a shattered collarbone you get hit with.
It is. Good night.
Oh, that's brutal. So, boys, why do you think it is that not only the Parks Department, but park rangers and game wardens and everybody that works in the wood industry, in these parks industries like that, from state parks to national parks, rangers on down. Why do you think they work so hard to keep these quiet?
I mean, what's going to happen to the, obviously the PR aspect, but what's going to happen to the people that come out there? I mean, they're going to be like, there's going to be no more camping, no more, tourism, things like that. And these national parks, they do count on fees from people
$33 billion a year industry.
That's what I'm saying, man. They count on fees. So let's look at a lot of the if you want to get out of the bottom line on a lot of stuff, it all comes down to the bottom line. If you don't get to the root of it, it's all about big money, man. And bad PR equals bad income, bad revenue. So I mean, I could also be very dark and say, well, they don't want to say anything because that keeps the constant food supply coming in. But there's another whole story right there.
Well, but that is we've talked about it. That is a big thing that a lot of people say. That's why they reintroduced the wood bison and elk and that, and
try to thin it down.
Give them something else to snack on other than the long pig.
I talked to an old boy here in Missouri he's retired now, but at the time he was still a game warden, and that's the story I read on the air that I typed up. That about the old boy that was found basically mangled down by Blue Eye, Missouri. Him and his tree stand both had been pretty much dismembered, and he barely got out because he saw what had done it. And that he told me that he said, even after I retire, I can't come public with this. I said, why is that? He goes, because they'll take away my pension.
I think Mark Napier hit the nail on the head. The jaw scenario. The mayor,
that makes sense.
Knows that something's out there. Knows that something is, but Amity is a summer town. Yeah. We can rely on summer dollars. All you're saying is you're an idiot.
Jay Bowers is absolutely correct. And the morons that would go out trying to hunt the things and get killed.
Well, you would have the complete flip opposite of what you got right now. You'd have people going out there, but you would have the people who were going out there and just paying money would be the ones staying home. And the guys that would want to go out there and you'd still have people getting hurt. You'd have people getting shot. You'd have, it would be a bad scenario on that round too. I mean, it's just, so what do you do?
Yeah, that's my theory. And I agree with Robbie's as well. I mean, I think they're all pretty much tied in the same.
I went to a floater one time. You guys know what I mean by a floater, right? Yeah. I went to a floater one time, and there were some guys from the Missouri Department Water Patrol, which is actually part of the Missouri State Highway Patrol. But those guys work a lot of times with game wardens and stuff. They spend most of their time on the lakes and the rivers, and they get in some pretty woolly areas. And I was talking to one of them kind of off to the side while they were bagging and tagging. And I said, so you guys ever see anything like Bigfoot or anything like that? Yeah, while you're out there in some of these lakes and sloughs. And one of them leaned over, and he's big old boy. And he put his hand on my shoulder, and he goes, if you're working a crime scene and it's a homicide, and someone from the press says, can you give us a comment about this murder? He said, what do you tell him? I said, no comment. He goes, there you go. And he walked off. That's all he'd say on it.
Yep. Well, and I told you that about the female game warden that was in my specific skills class. She was actually from this area. She got up there after I did my little thing on Bigfoot. She said, well, I'm going to do something on kind of the same thing. We've got this legend up there called the Look-See. And all the game wardens know it's out in Fance Grove around Clemson. Sonia probably knows what I'm talking about. But she actually kind of did her little thing on the Look-See. And it was kind of weird to hear a game warden, and not just like a rank. I'm talking, she's a staff sergeant, actually kind of tell that story. I was sitting there going, that's, but she's down in the lower part of the state, and ain't nobody from from the service, and it was all fun and games. But yeah, she told me afterwards, she goes, "Yeah, I've been told a lot of stories about that." Never said if she saw it or she believed or anything. She said, "Yeah, I've been told a lot of stories."
Yeah, I asked a game warden that I knew about a quote unquote suicide that they'd found. They found the guy's truck. There was blood in the truck. They said it was a suicide. I said, "Well, tell me about that. Tell me about that." He goes, "Okay, it's officially listed as a suicide, but the case is still open." I'm like, "Okay, tell me about it." He says, "Well, the window was shattered. The window was shattered in, and we never found the body, and there was blood everywhere." I said, Was there claw marks?" He says, "Nope. Wasn't a mark on the truck except for the window was shattered inward." They ruled it a suicide and basically
Seems
shut it
legit.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that seems totally legit.
Yeah, of
I'm like, "That's a
course.
suicide?" He goes, "That's the story we're sticking with."
See, what had happened was
Yeah.
he grabbed himself by the hair, smashed his head through the window on the outside of the truck, and then drug himself off in the woods
Yeah.
and died from his.
He parked in the wrong area and pissed something off, thereby killing himself.
Yeah, he was a right-handed shooter, shot himself twice in the left side of the head, and there was no GSR in his right hand. Or his left hand for that matter.
No firearm.
And no firearm. Who knew? Yeah, totally sounds like a suicide to me. I ain't even going there, but yeah, that is yeah. Who did he know? Was he close to Arkansas? I don't know.
Hey, Powers, that's funny. I can't show that on the air, but that's hilarious.
He knew exactly where I was going with that. That's true, man. But okay, so the window's broken in on his truck. There's a shit ton of blood. He's missing, but it's a suicide. There's no body, but he's a suicide.
Oh, they did find a boot. It was still in the truck.
Did it have a foot in it?
There we go.
No. Apparently, old boy got yanked out of it.
I mean, and to get yanked out of your boots, that's like, okay, I know y'all probably seen it too. Being a paramedic, people get hit by a car, pedestrian versus car, and their shoes are like sitting there in the middle of the street, like undisturbed where they were.
Yep.
That's a lot of force, dude.
Seen that on a train that hit somebody.
Yeah, just lifts them right out of their freaking shoes.
Yep. And the train kept going, and the shoes stayed right there in the middle.
Right there, undisturbed.
The train didn't keep it on going by. Didn't even suck the shoes up and move them. They were just there.
Yep.
Like,
yep. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of force to yank somebody that are freaking, especially a boot, which travels down. That's a lot more surface area, a lot more friction. That's a lot more force to yank them out of their boots. Damn.
I was down by Lake of the Ozarks one time and found a pair of shoes sitting at the edge of the water, just sitting there.
Yeah.
And the ground was very rocky. I don't think anybody in their right mind would have kicked their shoes off and walked back to their car in that rocky damn soil.
Exactly. Oh,
that would have tore your feet up.
Dwayne Melton said, wasn't it, and I believe it was the Ohio DNR that did a Bigfoot presentation. They even had signs.
Mm-hmm.
Did they not?
Yep.
Yeah, so that was Dwayne.
Kirsch says, "What's the best way to look up suspicious missing cases or quote-unquote suicides that law enforcement in the parks keep hush-hush?" Well, with active law enforcement, we've kind of discovered the pattern is they leave the case open. So cases are not subject to Freedom of Information Act. As for national parks, check out the Missing 411. He profiles a bunch of them, but you will get nothing out of the national parks. The only way you'll find something missing is if local law enforcement says something to the press. Like if local law enforcement and search and rescue gets involved with the Park Service looking for somebody, then you might get an article, but you're not going to get a lot of information out of it.
Well,
so you got to pay a lot of attention and read between the lines on what they're not saying.
How much stuff has gone missing, DA? Because you were doing research years ago, and the reports that were up about animal attacks.
Mm-hmm.
What area was that in?
That was some of those were right here around Joe Bald. We found 8 or 10. Yeah. Steve and I found 8 or 10 missing person cases associated with Joe Bald. And when we went back to document them so I could print out the articles, they were gone.
Yeah, that's not weird at all.
No, not at all.
No.
And how many others have been redacted over the years that we'll never know about? Miss Naomi and I found one when we were looking at one of the cases that happened near LBL, and the article in the newspaper said, you know, is mysterious animal attack, blah blah blah. There's no conspiracy involved, so don't ask. The article said that.
I'd like to get the microfiche off that, because you know most papers carry microfiche and go print that.
The thing about it is we can't find the article now, so I couldn't tell you where to begin to look for it.
Oh, well, there you go.
Stuff like that. If you find an article, folks, if you find an article that talks about a mysterious animal mauling, or you know, somebody that goes disappear in national parks, do not hesitate to make a copy of it.
Yeah.
Because we go to look for it again, it's probably going to be gone.
Otherwise, it'll be going like a fart in the wind.
Right.
Miss Lene said we missed.
Oh, we missed the 30-minute mark. Well, hell, Doc's right here. Doc, why don't you tell us a little bit about Scallywag, Dark Angel Medical, and that'll give me a chance to run and get some ice.
Hey.
I will be right back. I'm gonna go get some ice. Let me switch things around and bring up the big shot, and let's put up the Dark Angel Medical, and I will be right back, boys.
All right, folks. For those of you who have read DA's books, and if you've not read them, do yourself the favor and do that. You will recognize some trauma kits that he uses in his books for the teams, and those are from Dark Angel Medical. That's our business. That's my business. I started that back in 2011 with the sole purpose of educating people and providing them with quality gear. So if you go over to our website, darkangelmedical.com, and check that out, you'll see a wide variety of kits. Anything from minor first aid to, oh my God, someone is dying first aid. So from individual kits to multiple personnel kits. So head over there, check out our kits, and you can use the coupon code for the next month. You can use Cryptid25. We're going to be discontinuing that and dropping it down to Cryptid20 at the end of the month, simply because our prices have grown substantially. Our costs have. So use Cryptid25 for that'll give you 25% off your order. And if you use one of our kits to save the life of someone you know, or a complete stranger, or yourself, let us know in documentation, and we will replace whatever you have used absolutely free of charge. That is called our Kit for Life Guarantee. And here to date, we have approximately 176 people walking around with another birthday, which is pretty freaking awesome. So head over to darkangelmedical.com. Look at our training schedule. We do in-person training all over the United States. I believe we have over close to 36 classes this year. All over the U.S., and as well as an online training program along with our YouTube channel, Dark Angel Medical, and we have some free online training videos on there as well. So we try to educate as much as possible, because when life happens, when the time chooses you, you're going to have to be ready for it. So head over to darkangelmedical.com and give us a view and check us out, and we appreciate y'all supporting this disabled veteran-owned small business. Thank you much.
Well,
that's all I got to say about that.
Talk about perfect timing.
That was perfect timing. I saw you sit down. I was like, dang, I handled that one just right.
Lordy. Josh, thank you for re-upping, man. For sponsoring the channel. Really appreciate it, buddy. He says, Doc, could you give a brief overview of the different kits' use and purposes?
Woo, man. We got a lot of kits.
I was about to say, that won't be too brief.
Yeah, that would not be very brief. However, if you want to look at it from a minor first aid to a major first aid, let's start out with our ouch pouch. That is our minimalistic kit, the tiny little one, red nylon, bunch of Band-Aids, burn gel, things like that. We call that like our boo-boo kit. You move up to the Ouch Pouch Plus, which has a lot of the minor trauma plus major trauma things like hemostatics, tourniquets, chest seals, pressure bandages, and that. Then you move up to like a EDC kit, a Dark kit, the Dark Slim, the Spear, the Pocket Mini, the Blue Line, the Explorer. Those are a wide variety. The Explorer has first aid and trauma stuff. The Hard Case has first aid and trauma stuff. the MCI kit. This just what it says. It's a mass casualty kit, and then we have the ultimate bag, which is the Saint Mike bag, which has your enough stuff in there to treat several major casualties plus a bunch of minor first aid. So a big variety. I mean, we could do a 30-minute segment on that. So if that's something you want to know offline, General, just let me know, and I'll shoot you an email, and we'll get. I'll answer any questions you have.
Wait. Sorry, seeing if I missed any questions real quick.
And we have an ankle kit too. Forgot about that one.
Camo Dad 72 says personal locator beacons could be a big thing when you're out, as much as a first aid kit. Definitely true. I'm gonna have to get one of them. I don't have one.
Well,
AC Galloway says, DA, I hate to leave you. Wiley is fighting Grimnir. Thank you. Well, enjoy. Thank you for being here. Hey, Greg. Greg's in the house.
Yep. Gregory.
But, LBL is not the only place that's had its share of people going missing. It's happening in national parks all across the country. And David Paulides in the Missing 411, they're starting to put profiles to some of this, but he's only bringing forth a fraction of the ones that have actually gone missing. And there are lots of them that meet the criteria for the Missing 411. And we may never know exactly the exact numbers, because when he tried the Freedom of Information Act, the numbers from the National Park Service, they demanded like $3 million for them to compile all the data for him. At first, they tried to claim they don't keep track of the data at all. But when they quoted him a number, all they did was confirm that yes, they do. They just won't give it to you.
Oh, we don't do that. But if you want it, it's going to be $3 million.
Right. We don't keep track of it, but if you want that information, it's going to cost you $3 million. Gilbert Dawson says, love your books, DA. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sam Hind 11 says, been hanging out in the Shawnee. Where can I get more info on the sightings? Depending on what sightings you're looking for. For Dogman, there aren't any really great Dogman databases out there. There's a couple that are pretty decent, but none of them that are like all inclusive. And then for Bigfoot sightings, you could check like the BFRO database or the Gulf Coast GCBRO. They both have pretty good database of sightings reports. I don't have an actual database of all the ones I've compiled over the years. I just kind of have a shitload of notebooks and a bunch of computer notes. I really ought to put them into like one big database and make it publicly available. But number one, I don't know how to build a database, and number two, I just don't have the time.
Hey, yeah, you got one of them dating bases?
Yeah, them dating bases.
I need to look up some of that information.
So, missing people in national parks. Does anybody have any theories on that? With the map overlays, with the David Paulides 411 stuff?
Well, it is pretty bizarre that they match the overlay of known cave systems pretty much identically.
Well, and also known major sighting areas as well, yes?
Well, and here's something, too, that we looked at that night, or last Saturday night when we were on. Johnny brought this up. We found out that the LBL may very well be a convergence or a vortex.
There are ley lines. There's at least 3 ley lines that converge in LBL.
No way.
Absolutely serious.
And we kind of talked about that. I don't know that anybody has looked at that to overlay that with what we've already talked about. That'd be an interesting.
And also this, Robbie, the ley lines, that's a huge EMF field. So what would that do to any devices that carried charges to supply energy to that EMF field?
Make them die 2 seconds after you go live.
When they're 100% charged? Yeah. So that lends even more credence to the situation that happened to y'all, that it was 100% charged, and all of a sudden this deader and pump.
Yeah. I mean, because like DA said, 30 minutes before the show, me and Johnny were sitting there talking to DA and Steve.
Yeah.
Everything was fine. We go live,
Gone.
gone.
Wow. So whatever it is whatever energy there is could be labeled as intelligent energy.
Well, those cave systems, those we know they go deep. We just don't know how deep.
Yes.
I think they go deep enough to account for the hollow Earth theory. I don't think the planet is like honeycombed with different passages, but I think there are enough massive caverns that are interconnected that there could easily be a civilization down there we're not even aware of.
It's like a subterranean interstate, man. Like that one geologist that ended up in the cave system and was getting her and her colleagues were getting chased, and she ended up in another state like 5 days later.
She went in Tennessee and came out in North Georgia.
Yeah, like 7 days later, man. She was in another whole other, and had been subterranean the whole time.
The U.S. Geological Survey is now saying that they think the Mammoth Cave system goes from Maine to southern New Mexico.
Holy shit!
Way.
If they go that far, that's not a huge leap of the imagination to think that they connect other places as well.
I mean, that's literally twice the distance to AP Trail.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, didn't you say there was some cave system where they put some radioactive dye in it, and it came out?
That was here in Missouri. They put radioactive marker dye in the Bennett Springs, and it came up 6 months later in Alaska.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, man.
How freaking far is it from Missouri to Alaska?
A long freaking way.
It's far.
All of it.
Yeah.
Audacious Amber says, can you elaborate? Which part do you want us to elaborate on? Tab Brown says, what about the convergence and portal? Any correlations? I can't speak to anything with portals, man. I've never observed one. I don't have any experience with them, and I don't have enough physics background to even really speak on them with any confidence.
Just wait. Concerns open back up.
I think we got plenty of weirdness with these caves without throwing portals in the mix. But I won't say it can't happen. I'm just saying it is well outside my wheelhouse. It's not something I can speak with any confidence on because I don't know that much about it. Linda Bergman says, wow, Maine to New Mexico. Bet you cryptids travel through those. Yeah, we've been saying for a long time we think these things use the cave systems as a highway system. Absolutely. And if they go super deep, there's no way we're getting after it. Heck, that U.S. Geological Survey team went into Mammoth Cave and were setting up base camps and going deeper with each step. They got 3 days into the cave, and that is physically impossible for somebody like me, Doc, or Robbie to do, not without the backing of a government, because you can't just carry 3 days worth of food and go in because you're going to lose batteries, you're going to lose water. You cannot go 3 days into a cave because there's no way to airdrop you in supplies. So a 3 or 4 day deep expedition into a cave takes a tremendous amount of resources and support systems. So when they got 3 and 4 days in the cave, they started finding old backpacks and torn up camping gear.
Yeah, and they found guns.
Thank you, Dwayne. Appreciate you, man.
Guns, skeletons. Thank you, Dwayne. And they said they had been deeper than anybody else had ever documented before. And a lot of the portals, the passageways were blocked off these boulders that they had to move with hydraulic jacks, and they would come back later and those same portals were covered back with a rock they had moved with hydraulic jacks that weighed tons.
Yeah. So to me, that just says something far stronger than we are is able to move that, go in, and then close it behind us, and there's no way we got it to follow them.
Yeah,
I don't know about you. I've been in a lot of caves, but I've never once taken a hydraulic jack with me.
No, and didn't Cam do the story on that?
Yeah, he did one of the stories that I've heard on it. Yeah, that story Cam did on it. Very interesting story.
Yeah, if y'all get a chance, listen to Cam, and he can tell you the info.
Well, I know when they were first exploring the cave down here at Silver Dollar City, when they started exploring that, they would send expeditions down that would be down there a day or two at a time. And if you've ever been to Silver Dollar City and done the walking tour of that cave, it doesn't take but about an hour. I mean, it's not that the publicly accessible portion of that cave is not that long. I mean, it's, you know, it doesn't take you very long to walk that cave at a slow pace. But there are portals, not portals, there are passageways in that cave they don't let people go into. They're not part of the tour. You're not allowed to go back in there. And, you know, they don't even know where they go to. They go miles and miles back into the limestone of Missouri, and, you know, God knows what they connect to.
Yeah. Hey, we got 10 pounds from Flyby Stew. DA, get yourself a nice coffee on me. Love your work. Awesome. Thank you, Flyby.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Linda Bergman says, yep, I was in Silver Dollar City I worked overnight security down at SDC, and I was told in no uncertain terms that no matter what I heard coming from the cave after the park was closed, I was not allowed to go in there. And I asked
in one of your books, wasn't it, DA?
Yeah, it sure was. And I asked why, and they said because the oxygen quality is bad at night. If the oxygen quality is bad at night, how are you taking tours through there all day? I knew that was a BS answer when I got it, but that was the answer I was given.
The oxygen quality is on second shift, DA.
It's better oxygen quality in the daytime.
Only works on day shift.
Yeah.
It's science.
Only works during the day.
Scientific fact. It's better in the daytime. Everybody knows that. Whatever.
K Bauer says, DA, the caves theory doesn't explain the clank sounds in those disappearances. Not all of them have the clank sounds, but, you know, some of them, that I don't know about that, the clank sound, the origin, but you know, not all of them are, not all of the disappearances may be cryptid related. We'll just put it that way. Some of them might have something else entirely. So I don't know about the clank sounds, but I can tell you down in Joe Bald, which is a primitive campground with no electrical access at any of the campsites, even when the place was open, Robbie and I found 2 large electrical boxes in the woods that weren't powering anything that we could see.
Well, we don't know where those cables went down in the ground, but we don't know.
Yep, we don't know where they went. They didn't go to any of the surrounding campsites, I can tell you that. Melton says all the tourist farts settle at night. Well, there's no air moving equipment. So it's not like they've got giant fans on to pull air through the cave when they're taking tours, because I've been all over that park and there are not giant ventilation fans blowing into those caves.
Are there cows anywhere around there? It could be cow farts. Who knows?
Right, not. No cows there.
Damn it.
That is all heavily wooded Ozark Hill country. There are no cows grazing out there.
It's all the squirrel farts then. That's what it is.
Hey, Mike from Abnormal dropped by. Hey, dude. Good to see you, dude.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Greg Ogle says they heard metallic sounds at LBL. I think some of these places may have underground facilities that we just don't know about. You know, that could explain the clanging sound, or, you know, it could be a case of, they're damn good at mimicking sounds. I mean, we don't know. We don't have enough information to say what is causing these clank sounds. So could it be something mimicking a metallic sound that's very good at mimicking sounds? Yes. Could it be something, like a metal doorway out there that's shut and is so perfectly camouflaged on the outside you can't find it? Again, yes. We don't know what it is.
Could it be a dumb? I mean, how many are dumbs reported to be in that area?
Well, I was talking to Jessica today. I was telling her about everything, and she went back through her notes from when she remote viewed the LBL.
Yeah.
And she got the same feeling from LBL that she got from Joe Bald about something underground.
And that wouldn't be that terribly surprising, because it's all land owned by the Army Corps of Engineers down there around Joe Bald. It's all along a man-made lake, and the area is riddled with caves. It would not shock me to find out there's something down there. I mean, in fact, right here in Springfield, and I know it's there because I worked security down there, there are miles of tunnels drilled into the limestone under Springfield that they use as warehouse spaces, and there's even like a continuity of government full on server farm down there for backing up massive chunks of the internet.
18-wheelers driving in and out there. I mean, it is. Those things are like.
It has its own rail delivery system.
Yeah.
Well, and
it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen because some of these rail cars would come down by themselves. They're on an automated rail car. It's got a satellite controlled computer on it that hooks into a drive system. The car comes down by itself, drives right up to a warehouse. They empty it or fill it. I don't know which because we never got to find out. Yeah. And then it leaves on its own.
Well, that ain't screwy at all, is it?
Yeah, that was the wildest thing. I was like, where's the engine that's pulling that freaking train car? I'm like, it doesn't need it. I was talking to one of the other security guys who'd worked down there for a long time. He's like, these things are completely automated. They come in and out at all hours of the day.
Huh.
That's one of them hide in plain sight things.
Yeah, exactly.
I know for a fact that place has a massive, and I mean massive, food storage warehouse down there. The Army Reserve Center is right above it, where they store a lot of vehicles and Connex boxes. But there's a lot of stuff they're storing in the underground too. And there were areas of those caves that, as security, we weren't even allowed to go into.
Well, there's nothing weird to see there then.
Right.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Robert D says KC has a big cave system that semi-trucks driving in. There's another one in Chicago that supposedly operates inside old salt mines. There was one at Carthage, Missouri that they shut down for some reason. It is now commercially for sale. I would love to have the money to buy that facility because it's pretty massive.
That'd be we can have a layer.
The one in Kansas City, I just was talking to somebody about that the other day. I can't remember. They've got a name for it. They call it... I don't know. I can't remember the name of it. There's a name that they refer to the one in Kansas City. It's like Subterranean or something like that. It's got an actual name, but I can't for the life of me remember what it's called. Mark says there's a huge underground storage cave in Louisville, Kentucky. There are a lot of these. And supposedly somewhere here in Missouri is a massive continuity of government bunker. Somewhere here. I don't know where it's at. But there are several of those large underground storage places here in Missouri, as well as, and if you guys have heard a lot of the quote-unquote conspiracy theories, which we found out are, current events, as well as something I featured in a book, what they call Pensmore Castle. And it's about 15 miles from where I'm sitting right now. And the security around that son of a gun is tighter than a gnat's ass stretched over a rainbow. Because I know a guy tried to fly a drone in there, and they shot that bitch out of the air.
Really?
Yeah.
So
they shot it down.
So all these people going missing in these cave systems. I mean, you can look at, like I said, Pilates 411, everything like that. I mean, they stretch from Maine all the way through the Appalachians into the Ozarks, the Ouachitas, into the
Rockies. To take it to southern New Mexico makes it go all the way through Texas.
And down the Mogollon Rim and the hill country in Texas where I just was. So, yeah.
All of those areas with high concentrations of Bigfoot and cryptid sightings.
Yep. If you do a triple overlay, that it's all
Subtropolis, just here and there. Got it. That's what they call it. It's called, the one in Kansas City is called Subtropolis. I knew it had a specific name, and I couldn't, for the life of me, remember what it was. But I just heard it the other day, and I was like, Roxanne Delgado says, been in the one by KC, by Worlds of Fun, and there's another one somewhere in KC. I only knew of the one, Subtropolis in Kansas City, but I used to work security for the one that's here in Springfield, and it is freaking massive. And you like certain days of the week, you can still hear them blasting. You'll feel the ground shake a little bit, and you'll hear the boom. They are still expanding those, and they've been expanding them for the last 40 years.
Damn.
You got Johnny.
And I haven't worked down there in 25. I was in my 20s when I worked down there last.
Damn.
You got Johnny again, DA.
The gnat's ass over a rainbow.
And
you're welcome, sir.
I like what Greg said. He said, what's the end of that rainbow?
There ain't no pot of gold, I'll tell you that much.
The other side of the gnat's ass. Bowers 8111 Doc, where was you? Well, I was in Eagle Lake, which is close to Houston, but I was up near. I drove up near the Kerrville, the Llano, San Saba County area. So I was up in that area for a day.
Dash 5257 says, I had to clean a space in the Springfield cave system. It had all sorts of documents and stuff. I saw invoice orders from the mid 1800s. Yeah, these cave systems in Missouri are extensive, and they've been using them for a long time.
Mid 1800s?
That is freaking awesome.
Dude,
Linda Bergman says,
years.
DA new book, Death Stalks Moon Valley, is awesome. I got it. Got me to rereading his books and listening. Thank you so much. That is awesome. Thank you so much.
Dang.
K Bauer says, Doc, you was real close. Yeah, I know these cave systems have been used for a very long time. And mid 1800s is right around the time that Teddy Roosevelt started coming into his own.
Mr. 85 million acres of national parks.
That's your guy.
After he had the encounter. Interesting.
I'm telling you that, to me, that is a sticking point. That is a hill to die on. No president has ever challenged that. Why?
There you go.
They challenge everything else that any other president does. I want to get rid of this because this president did it, or this guy did it, and
yeah,
nobody's ever went after that one.
Yeah, they're probably like
that's in the Book of Skulls or whatever. You do not mess with this one.
Correct.
Little Patty says Marvel Cave in the Ozarks. Marvel Cave ain't the only one. We've got Merrimack Caverns right up there towards St. Louis. They don't know how deep that one goes. They've explored a big chunk of it, but they don't know how deep that one goes. Onondaga Cave, they don't know how deep that one goes. One of the largest caves in Missouri is that one at Silver Dollar City. Then you've got Smittle Cave, what they say is the 5th largest cave in the state of Missouri. And I've shown you pictures of that one. Hell, I'll just bring the world on it. I'll just bring one up. I've still got them saved. Makes you wonder what the heck's going on at Smittle Cave when they're putting stuff like this over it.
Yeah.
That's not designed to keep a person out, because you can see the dude down at the bottom. If it was just designed to keep a person out of that son of a gun, they wouldn't need a 40-foot wall.
This is the first time I've noticed it. Well, what is that little box or whatever it is?
Looks like an access panel, Robbie.
I think it is an access door.
That's the first time
because I know they still go in there at certain times of the year, but for the most part, that's from my. There's the other. Look how big those bars are.
That looks like a challenge. Hey, it's top of the hour, man. Do we have any
top of the hour? Yeah. Robbie, why don't you tell us a little bit about Scallywag Tactical?
Don't mind if I do. You want to do any rearranging or anything, or just am I good?
Yeah, I'll do some rearranging.
You don't have to, but I'm just asking.
Give me just a second here while I whip this out.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
All right, Robbie.
Another 50 points if you know where that one come from. All right, Scallywag Tactical is another one of our affiliates, another veteran-owned company. Make great knives like the Dew Claw here. I went ahead and make sure I got them all so I could show them again this time, DA. We got the nice Gunner's Mate, and these all went with me to the LBL this past week. And then the big old S word over here, the Bounty. Now, they've got everything from this all the way down to the folding knives. You got the Jolly Roger, you got the Privateer, you got the Orca, you got the Mako, you got the Wahoo, they're all cool sounding knives, and they're all cool knives in general. They are doing another big sale, I guess is the best way to put it. They're to the end of this month, right, DA?
Yep. End of April.
To the end of April, if you use code DA Roberts 10, you get an extra 10% off.
Over 20% off.
Yeah, that's why an extra 10% off of already 10% that code is going to give you. So you're getting 20% total. Sorry, I should have clarified that. And that also counts for the blemish blades, and they've even got the boarding axe on the blemish blades now too. It's $175, which
in 2 different colors, flat dark
Yeah.
earth and black.
yeah, if I had $175 free, that would be in my collection. That's a good price on a $300 axe. But you're not going to go find any bench
And another
made.
20% of that, 20% off of that makes it real nice.
Yeah, it's really nice, Clark. Really nice.
And at $190, you're basically getting $35, almost $40 off.
Yep. So you're not going to go get a Spyderco or a Benchmade or a CRKT or any of those knives that you're going to pay a lot of money for. They're not going to be any better than these knives right here. And, you know, you're looking at a $45 knife, which is, you know, that's still a pretty fair price for it, but it'll compete with any of those big name brand knives that you can get at the store. But what you're not going to get when you get those other knives that you're going to get with this is you're not a number. You can actually reach out to Craig and his crew, and they're gonna help you out. I mean, I love to hear Steve tell the story about how they helped him out when he broke his privateer. Was it DA?
Yeah, it was his privateer.
You know, and he didn't have to do that, but he made a customer for life with that. And that's the kind of service you're going to get. And, you know, I just now had to start working on putting an edge on Taylor's Jolly Roger. And that's because she works EMS and she's been using it like on a 12-hour shift every day she works. And it's finally started losing an edge. She's had it as long as I've had mine. But it's still sharper than most knives that you would buy anywhere. But it's finally starting to lose its edge. And that knife she's had it probably close to a year and a half, maybe 2 years. Keep an edge on a knife that long, that's saying something. And you're just not going to find any better quality than you're going to find there. Check out the blemish blades. Check out they got 26 new blades coming out. They've already started putting some of them out there. Ones like the Mantis, which is a little small mini cleaver, kind of like the Dew Claw. It's a lot smaller and easier to conceal. I love this thing right here. This is one of the best camp knives I've ever had, because you can do everything at camp that you need. I mean, anything from your cooking preparation with it, chopping up kindling. I mean, it's even heavy enough if you need to. You can even hammer your tent posts in if you needed to with it. And I'm not lying, am I, DA? This thing's heavy enough to use as a hammer.
Yeah, you definitely could.
And it's heavy, but still so well balanced. All these knives feel so good in your hand. And I think that's a testament to Craig and his guys that, you know, they don't just go out and, all right, well, that looks cool. Let's get that.
Right.
They test these things. You can go on YouTube and look at what's his name, DA, that does all the tests for him.
Oh, Mike Donavito.
Yeah, Mike. You can watch Mike test just about every one of their blades, and they do that all the time. They make sure they're comfortable. They make sure they feel good. They make sure they're high quality. You can't go wrong with these knives. And you know, they have everything from, you know, these blades like this that are outdoor purpose blades, the blades you put in your tackle box to fillet fish, to the kitchen knife set. You know, Doc's showing the old S word there. You can do some business with that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The old Crocodile Dundee. Yeah. I don't think even Crocodile Dundee would have wanted to mess with that one.
Negative.
Ghost Rider. The pattern is full. So, y'all go check out Greg and his crew at Scallywag Tactical. Use code DA Roberts at 10 for checkout. Get yourself 20% off up to the end of this month. Like I said, he's got some new stuff coming in. Tell him we sent you. And well, that's all I got to say about that.
Thank you, Robbie. Appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Robbie. You're so smart.
You welcome, Duck.
So the new book is proceeding apace. Doc, have you read what the most recent part I sent out?
I've read like 3/4 of it. My internet connection was so bad. I had in Texas.
I need to send out an update. I'm well over 40,000.
Oh my Lord!
But
what I read, trust me, y'all.
Let's just say old Doc is having a rough time of it right now.
Y'all are gonna like it. Yeah, me and I don't know, man. Snowmobiles and everything else with the.
Anytime you deal with a Wendigo and Doc's involved, it always ends badly.
Always, man. Wendigos just don't like me for some reason.
Seems like you got a pretty good partner there that wants to stay with you, though.
Maybe so. My monosyllabic compatriot.
Yep.
Dwayne Melton says Jim Bowie would have loved that blade. He sure would have.
Do y'all know where Jim Bowie had his first documented knife fight?
Are you saying y'all, me and him, or you asking the chat?
Right? Anybody. I mean, it was in my birthplace of Natchez, Mississippi, right there on the Mississippi River. Sure enough. No, Bowers, I am not going ice fishing anytime soon. Ice fishing kiss my rebel butt. That's all I got to say.
Doc's already learned his lesson on that one.
Yeah, freaking Wendigos, man, they're assholes.
He at least ain't going ice fishing with anything less than a 458. He ain't taking no 5.56.
Yeah, that is correct. That is factually accurate.
1980 CNH says Natchez, Mississippi is my hometown.
Well, now, what's up there, home man, or home girl, or whoever you might be? Yeah, I was born at what was then Jefferson Davis Memorial Hospital. I lived on Jefferson Davis Avenue. So, yeah, sure enough, till I was 4 years old.
That'd be why he calls himself the Natchez Medicine Man.
That is correct, sir.
All right.
Yeah, Curson says book Doc needs to move to the desert and stay there. I agree. There's always something there that's going to try to kill you. I don't know.
Doc's going to wind up, living in southern Arizona with a bunker like the guy from Tremors.
And damn Gila monsters will come after me. I'll get irradiated by something. They'll come after me.
Well,
Gila-zilla.
Yeah, exactly.
Later on, Book Doc's pretty hard to kill, though. I mean, he's a furry critter after all.
Hey, just saying.
Yeah, just saying.
Was that like a were corgi?
That's ugly.
I didn't say it, Doc.
That's ugly. Ed, I abhor ugliness. Does this mean we're not friends anymore?
I could not resist.
If you weren't my friend, I just don't think I could bear it.
And the movie quotes have been flying tonight.
Yes.
If y'all are keeping score.
It got really quiet in here all of a sudden. What the hell?
I was kind of recovering my train of thought.
I was reading.
But those giant underground storage places like the one here in Springfield, they're apparently all over the U.S.
I'll have to ask my son if he's heard anything about those because he's been doing trucking for the last few years. I'm going to ask him if he has heard that, if he's heard anything about those.
You want me to throw a spanner into the works? You remember I was talking about the automated train cars?
Yeah.
I don't live far from Springfield Underground, and the rail spur runs just a few blocks from my house. Now, when I worked security down there, I saw those automatic train cars coming and going all the time. But you know, now that I think about it, I've never seen one above ground. Never once seen one of those bastards above ground.
Really?
Yeah, now that I think about it, I know where those rail spurs are that go through that area, and I ain't never once seen one of those automated rail cars above ground. Where the hell are they going?
Do they have a train yard somewhere, like with a routing station, and where they?
We have a massive train yard here, but I've never seen one there either.
I would be willing to bet they've got these big hangar-like buildings that those trains will go into, and I guarantee if there's one of those big buildings that it goes subterranean from there, and they hook it to some sort of almost like a tram, you know, like they have here at Pikes Peak, the freaking cog rail, where it has like something that it locks into on that car and carries it down. Guarantee you.
Guarantee.
Like Yostan Wilson. Yeah.
Lindenbergman says, I wonder if they're hauling livestock underground. It wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, they can haul anything they want to underground, man. How are they powering that thing? If they got coal-fired generators and things like that, I mean, hell, one of the biggest coal mines is in the Thunder Basin out here, and I see trains going east and west, you know, from the Thunder Basin.
They could have nuclear reactors under there for all we know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
I mean, think about the size of a nuclear reactor on submarines and on aircraft carriers. If they can, and what's the operational limit time wise on a USS or on a U.S. aircraft carrier? How long?
Aircraft carrier? I think it's. I want to say
more.
7 years without refueling.
And like a nuclear sub, as long as they got rations, I mean, they can stay submerged like for a.
They got water. They got air scrubbers and water purification filters.
Absolutely, yeah.
So they can stay under for a damn long time. Whereas World War II subs could only stay under for about 12 hours at a whack.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's kind of scary, dude. I mean, to think about that.
Yeah, you know, I didn't even click that I'd never seen one of those above ground until I got to thinking about it. I'm like, you know, I don't live that far from that rail spur that goes through that area, and I've never once seen one going down that rail spur.
I mean, it could be the same cars hooked to trains, and then when they get in that train yard, they disconnect, go in those big hangar buildings, and then boop, down it goes.
Open Coloring Book says, for decades, there's been talk of naval rail systems underground from coast to coast. That wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise me a bit. I mean,
Linda Bergman says, "Yeah, we never hear of any trains with train derailments with livestock."
Yeah, I mean, all they got to do is follow the underground aquifer system. I mean, what they do above ground, train tracks and everything, they follow the natural course of rivers and things like that. So, wouldn't they do it underground as well?
Yep.
Northwood says, I think the newer subs are designed to not need to get refueled at all during their service life.
Wow. All they need is resupply with rations.
Yeah, with food.
Beans, bullets, and bandages, baby.
Dash 5257 says, there's YouTube videos from truck drivers picking stuff up from Springfield storage cave. And I can tell you from personal experience, there's parts of that underground they don't let the truckers go into.
Really?
There are parts that we could get to in the security vehicles, but then there are even parts that we weren't supposed to go into.
So let me ask you this, DA. Have you ever heard of any, I just thought about the nuclear stuff. Have you ever heard of any DOE contracts down there, Department of Energy? Because that's who manages all the nuclear stuff, like what Robbie was saying.
We would get surprise inspections from guys from different alphabet soup agencies that were coming to check the security at that facility. And the security there is pretty damn tight. It didn't used to be. 25, 30 years ago, the security was okay, but it wasn't like it is now. Now, holy shit. When you pull down there, they've got an observation tower that sets 50 feet in the air. They've got armed security in that son of a gun 24/7. And then there's guys down at the gate that control access to the underground facility. And I know there are at least 2 other entrances that aren't inside that perimeter fence, but they're guarded.
I'd be curious to know what government entity controls access to that stuff, or it could be multi-agency. It could be a multifactorial type of thing, or different agencies there. But if like Robbie said, if there's nuclear there, then DOE is going to have a fucking, pardon me, they're gonna have a thumbprint there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
OPR 357 says there are huge 800K over 1 million square foot buildings out there. Who knows what's in them or under them? I know for a fact there is a server farm down there that contains a complete backup of pretty much every major business in Southwest Missouri. That's where everybody keeps their data storage. And the server farm is mind-blowing. And the security around that thing is tight. And I do mean tight. Roxanne says, DA, one question. What would they do with a 7 to 8 earthquake in the undergrounds in the U.S.? Well, those are in Missouri limestone. And some of the support columns, as they've dug those things out, some of those support columns that go from floor to ceiling, these massive support columns are bigger than my house. They dwarf the vehicles that drive past them.
Well,
so I think those things could probably take a major earthquake and probably shrug it off. They've also said that those things were designed to be deep enough they could take a direct nuclear hit and still function.
Yeah, and if y'all ever seen any of this stuff on Cheyenne Mountain, which is, as a crow flies, about 30 miles, 40 miles from me, southwest, the building there they have carved out of the mountain, but that it is suspended on coil springs, almost like a coilover suspension on a truck. It's built on these springs. These springs are massive. They're like small house-sized springs that is built to absorb the shock. So I wouldn't be surprised if they had some kind of system like that too.
There were 2 or 3 Air Force bases. I used to have a buddy that was retired Air Force security, and he told me that there were several bases in Nevada and Arizona and even California that he had worked security at, and all of those bases had underground tunnel systems, and they were constantly getting alarms from those tunnel systems because they would find Bigfoot-like creatures in those tunnels, and they didn't know how they got in there.
Are you serious?
I'm absolutely serious.
Damn. Well, I mean, it's part of the subterranean superhighway we've talked about, man. All these caves. I mean, why do all these people go missing in these national parks? I mean, they're gone like a fart in the wind. I mean, like that one hunter, they were out hunting, and his son went to find him, and he was gone. And
there were people on either side of him.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they were staggered out across a picket line deer hunting, and he just gone. And that dude, he was getting up there in years, but he was a former Army Ranger.
Yeah.
Fought in World War II.
Just gone.
Yeah. Never found a trace of him. Not his gun, none of his clothes. Nope. He just vanished.
And that's the one they said he put his gun down to go track the animal. Or is that a different?
No, that was a guy here in Missouri.
Okay.
The one that Doc and I are talking about, I believe I want to say in Pennsylvania. It was somewhere out east. And he's one of the missing 411s that, he had hunted that same plot of land for 40 years. And the way they hunted is they scattered everybody down this ridge line at about 50-yard intervals. And they set him up and said, all right, we're going to push the deer toward you. You just stay here and you'll be able to get you one. And when they came back to his area, he was gone.
Yep. Nothing. Not a trace. Never found anything.
Dave Bauer says it was Tom Messick was in northern New York. I knew it was somewhere out east.
Yeah. Adirondack. Camo Dad 72 just said Adirondacks. Yep.
And look how many people go missing every year just along the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, I mean, well, and there again, like we've said before, that's just the ones we know about. I mean, that doesn't count the transient population that nobody reports.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't know this. Everybody is familiar with the Appalachian Trail that basically runs the length of the Appalachian Mountains. But there is another trail that runs from Mexico into Canada, all along the Rocky Mountains. And there are people that have hiked it. But you don't hear anything about that one. And I guarantee you there's a lot of missing people along that trail.
You wouldn't catch my country ass hiking those trails.
Heck no, because those go through some really rough territory.
Yeah.
Well, and
You've got to be way better shape than I think I've ever been to want to try to make that hike.
Yeah.
And that's just to contend with the elements, not
Right.
the indigenous fauna that might be out there ready to make you a freaking snack.
Dash 5257 brought up a good point. I remember this detail too. He said he was handicapped, if I remember right. He couldn't walk far. Yeah, I think he had a bad leg or an artificial leg, and he couldn't walk long distances. But they searched hundreds of square miles around the spot where he disappeared and never found him. Not a trace. They said only a candy wrapper was found.
Damn.
DA, check the co-host chat. I just sent you a message right quick.
Okay. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong one there. Hang on.
But yeah, I mean, when you start looking at these, I mean, if you want to look at overlays of all the stuff that we've talked about before, like you said, Doc, and you throw that other wrinkle in of maybe the ley lines, which we hadn't obviously looked at that part yet. When you start adding all these layers, even with what we got now, without even adding the ley lines to it, and you start looking at how much that makes everything add up, it's like when you used to pull a car over, DA, and you found one thing that might send up a red flag. Okay. Then you find two. Still not. Then you start finding 3 or 4 when you're looking for dope in a car. You know this. You find 3, 4, 5 of these contributing things. You start looking at the totality of the situation.
This is when you walk up and there's 25 of those little air fresheners hanging from the window.
Yep.
This is what we call a clue, boys and girls.
It's a clue.
For a big bag of Funyuns in the back seat.
Yeah.
Taco Bell bags everywhere.
Yep.
Hey, my dad says it said the feds showed up when Tom Messick disappeared. Feds don't show up at a missing persons.
No.
Not usually.
I do want to take a quick minute and ask y'all to kind of keep somebody in your prayers. One of our mods, Steve Peden, his wife had to have surgery, so if y'all would mind keeping her in your thoughts and prayers while she recovers. And one of our audience members, Auntie Venom, her brother passed away from complications from pneumonia. And stage 4 cancer. His name is Hugh Parsons, and if you all would mind keeping him in your prayers, we would sure appreciate it. Absolutely. And we had another one that we'll talk about here in a little while when we get closer to the end of the show. It happened right in Robbie's backyard, and it's the reason I'm wearing my blue law enforcement remembrance, because we lost a Leo. It wasn't in the line of duty. It was a heart attack, but we still lost a guy with pushing 20 years experience in law enforcement. So, but we'll be talking about him in a little bit when we start closing out the show. But, just to think of all them folks, when you guys say your prayers or your whatever, send up good smoke or whatever it is y'all do, just keep them in your thoughts and prayers.
Amen.
We are at the 9:30 mark. Let's take a quick second, and I'll say something about Brock blades, and I'm going to keep the windows the same size because I've only got the one Brock blade so far, and that way Doc can show off his. Let me find mine. Where did I put it? It's in this clutter on my desk somewhere. It's around here somewheres. Hang on, let me find that. Well, it appears that I don't know what the heck I did with it. It's somewhere on my desk, but I am not seeing it. So I guess Doc and Robbie will have to show yours off. Let me bring up the.
You were looking at your Steam, weren't you?
I just got
Yeah,
the one, so
it's
we'll-
here somewhere.
we'll
I don't know
look.
what the heck I did with
rely on Doc for all the for the heavy lifting.
It's somewhere here on my desk, but it got buried under a bunch of junk. I got to clean my desk off. It is a mess.
Damn it, DA.
Yeah, damn it, Bobby. Scaring Ladybird. But I don't know. It's buried up here somewhere. But anyway, we're a Brock Blades affiliate. Ken Brock, who you guys have seen in the chat a bunch of times. He's a retired law enforcement officer. He's a heck of a good dude, and he builds his blades by hand in the shop behind his house. Scallywag blades are amazing. They hold an edge like nobody's business. But if you take my gunner's mate and Robbie's gunner's mate, other than the slight color differences because of the different style, they're virtually identical. I mean, they're mass produced. They are beautiful and awesome knives, but they are mass produced. No two blades Ken puts out are identical. They're all done by hand. They're all done precision, and you can custom order blades with pretty much any style of handle you like or blade design. And you can check all those out at brockblades.com. We're pretty proud of all of our affiliates because we didn't choose them by accident. Every affiliate we've got is either a veteran-owned company or a first responder-owned company because we believe in supporting our boys in uniform or ladies and gentlemen in uniform. And that's what it's all about. So check all them out. Check out brockblades.com. Use discount code Cryptid10 for 10% off your entire order. And if you do order a custom blade, make sure that in the description you put it somewhere that you've heard about it from right here on Ex Machina, and it'll make sure you get your 10% off your order. So I appreciate that, and make sure you check out Brock Blades. Again, that discount code is Cryptid10 for 10% off. Thank you, fellers. I don't know why I can't find mine. It's over here somewhere. I got to clean this desk off. It's a mess. It may have gotten shoved back under my monitor.
Like I said, Doc had to do the heavy lifting, but
Me and my street weasel and my neck scalpel.
And your pimp dagger.
And my pimp dagger, yeah.
They cut your pimp's heart out.
He hated that one, man. It was like, I hate you.
You know what? As soon as we're done, I found it.
It always works.
No, always. Absolutely. I just happened to look over and went, well, there's some bitch in that.
There it is.
Damn thing. Hiding on me. So, Jessica, when she did the remote viewing of both LBL and Joe Bald, she mentioned that there was something underground. She didn't know exactly what it was, but she mentioned something underground. Now, the Underground, which, yeah, granted, it's about 45 miles away from Joe Bald, definitely has some sort of underground railroad. I know that already. And we know that the Appalachian Trail connects to the Mammoth Cave system, and the Mammoth Cave system is suspected to run from Maine to southern New Mexico and perhaps even farther. So what if all of these are connected and these underground bases aren't there by accident?
No, I never thought they were there by accident. It's a conspiracy, I tell you.
I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's more current events these days. But just hear me out. If we've heard a lot of stories about Dogman being deployed with special forces groups. We've heard stories about them experimenting on Dogman to try to use it as a soldier. Even the same thing with Bigfoot. What if the involvement goes much deeper than that? What if these underground bases are there to completely interact with these things, and we're just kept in the dark about it?
Now that you something else Jessica told me today. She had talked to a guy who told her that he saw, and I think she said it was in the LBL too, that she saw a dogman, or he saw a dogman that was using camouflage. And I'm not talking about it like its own natural adaptive camouflage. It said that it had painted white, used something to paint white on its face to make it look more like a deer. So that would
we know these things are smart.
But if they are being trained, and they are being genetically altered. You said that, and that popped right back in my mind. And I was like, "That's kind of weird." She just told me that today. We make that comment,
and boys, that would make a lot more sense on why they don't want us to find out about them, because they've been dealing with them for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
What if it goes deeper than that? What if it's that they've got an established trade with these things?
Well, she
What
said
if, more.
She said that she got the part of her reading was somebody turns these things loose to feed,
and that's why they don't give a fig about people going missing in the parks.
And I'm telling you, whatever we ran into that night, there was multiple, and they were trying to separate us. If Greg's still in the chat, I think he felt the same way I did. I think that something was trying to separate one or more of us from each other.
Miss Lene says, "What if there are also places underground for interaction with alien races?" Well, you've got the Black Pyramid in Alaska, and that's supposedly under a mountain and manned by not only aliens but alien hybrids. So, what the hell's down there, and what are we not being told?
Well, I mean, we're treated like mushrooms, man. We're kept in the dark and fed a lot of BS, and so I mean, there's more. I'm pretty sure there's probably a lot more down there than we're privy to, or will ever be privy to. So
1980 CNH has a good one. Says, "Well, Robbie, the use of ash to make a form of face paint has been used by Native Americans for years. Not just ash, but red ochre, naturally occurring pigments. Lots of things can be used as face paints."
Yeah, but by Native Americans, but we're talking about an animal. That's
so
I know Native Americans use it, but yeah, we're talking about something that is, for all intents and purposes, an animal using something to camouflage itself.
So are they tribal? Or have they been taught by some entity how to use some sort of camouflage?
I think it's more along the lines of that second one.
Dad Brown says that explains the metal grinding sound I heard in the middle of nowhere. And here's another great comment. I'm trying to get that popped up before it disappears on me. Gray Wolf Ford says, "What if the clusters of disappearances are located around surface entrances of these cave systems, hidden entrances?" Yeah, that's exactly what we're saying.
Oh, absolutely, man.
It's 100% on board with what we're saying.
Absolutely.
That those clusters and major clusters of disappearances are near entrances to deep cave systems.
Yep. I mean, because where'd that geological survey team find all that stuff? They found
Mammoth Cave.
There were caves there, and then it went way the hell down.
Ginger says, "Are they human experiments gone wrong?" I don't think so, because references to Bigfoot and Dogman-like creatures go back centuries, long before we had any kind of technology to experiment. They were mentioned by the Romans and the Greeks, the cynocephali, long before the word Bigfoot or Dogman was ever created. Creatures like this were described by settlers and travelers. Saint Christopher, the dog-headed saint.
Yeah.
Mrs. Moon says Taos, New Mexico. Taos is an interesting place.
Also Sedona.
Sedona, Arizona.
Absolutely. There's been some weird crap going on there too.
There are people that have disappeared at the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge near Taos, and they said they probably jumped off and were swept away by the river. Probably jumped off. They'll find a car. Every once in a while, they'll find a car parked near the bridge. Nobody there.
Nothing to see here. Move along.
And nothing to see here. Just somebody jumped. It's okay. How do you know they jumped?
Come on. Move along.
Move along.
Kirsch says, "I know UFOs is the normal topic genre here, or whistleblowers, but maybe do an episode summarizing what a bunch of them talked about regarding underground bases and such. A lot of it echoes this stuff." Yeah, we probably should. I mean, we're jumping down the rabbit hole, and I think it goes way deeper than we're just scratching the surface.
But but what we're saying is not is some of it is what's the word? Not skeptical, but I mean some of it is theoretical or hypothetical. But for the most part, what's all that based in? That's all grounded in fact, man. It's factually accurate that there are these places that exist, and it's also factually accurate that people go missing around these places. So that kind of lends credence to those theories, does it not?
Oh, absolutely. Frank says, "Hi guys, your new sub here. I want to thank you guys for the honesty and integrity and no mudslinging. I need to send you guys an unusual story that took place in Madison County, North Carolina. Patricia Gambino Harrington. Hey, I would love to hear the story.
Okay.
You can send me anything on email at daroberts@daroberts.net. One of the mods mine's popping up the contact information. If you'd prefer to send it by mail, my mail contact should be popping up here in just a second.
And I'm going to say this, and I know I'm not overstepping with DA or Robbie, but if any of y'all have any kind of encounters that y'all would like to share with us, please send it our way, because from time to time we like to do shows dedicated to those particular incidences and to discuss. This is a no judgment zone. Because we're not the writer of the story. We're not the one who experienced what they've experienced, and we just like to relay the stories from y'all out there in the chat, because that just honestly it educates us even more on things that could happen.
Yeah, and it's been a minute since we've done one of those shows too.
Yeah, and those are always very well received shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so if y'all have any kind of stories, man, if you want names redacted, if you want, family members, you want to change the names, that's absolutely fine. Just let DA know that when you email him. And I think it's just more information out there, because I know a lot of people, and DA and Robbie will both mirror this sentiment, that a lot of people are extremely hesitant to share their experiences for fear of skepticism and or honestly being stigmatized.
Well, and you both know this. The first time I shared my story publicly in 40 years was right here on this show.
Absolutely.
Because it's getting better with the way people take this stuff now, and I think that's like what we've talked about, that and however you want to coin the phrase, the veil being lifted or being pierced or pulled back or whatever, it's getting to the point where it's hard for people to ignore the fact that these things are out there and things like this are happening.
I mean, my middle brother, one night after a show we had, this has been some time ago, he texted me and said, "Hey, do you have time to talk?" And he relayed his experience to me that he had not shared with anybody in a decade. And I was the first person he shared it with, because he's a doctor. It's a fear of, being ostracized and being looked at like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're freaking nuts.
I was talking.
Let me share something with you guys here real quick.
Y'all
remember me talking about going down to Moon Valley the other day?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking through some of the pictures that we took. Tell me what y'all see in that image. That's a bluff that runs along the edge of the valley. Let me scoot those in.
Looks like a castle and caves.
There's some caves up in there, dude.
That's about 80 foot up on the side of a cliff. There is no way to get up those without a rope. And there's a ton of them.
Until you blew it up, though, it looked like a castle set up on there.
Yeah.
See
this was all Osage land
up
until about the 1870s.
Definitely right there where your cursor's at. There's a bunch of caves.
That's a big one right there where that cursor is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all privately owned land now. You can't get back there.
I mean, because that's big zoomed in. So that means up close, that sucker's pretty freaking massive.
Yeah, I took that with a telephoto lens from about half a mile away. So I don't know how big those are. It has been probably 40 years since I've been up to that cave, and I don't remember those ones on the side. Now, I'm not saying they weren't there. I'm just saying I don't remember those. I remember some down closer to the ground that I've been in, but I really don't remember those big ones up on the side. Now, again, I was a kid last time I spent a lot of time in that valley, so I might have just forgotten about them because I knew there was no way we could get to them. But I took those the other day when I was down there in Moon Valley, and I got to thinking, what the hell is in those caves? Because there's literally no way to get to them without either rappelling down from the top of the bluff or free climbing from the bottom, because they are between 80 and 90 feet off the ground.
I mean, yeah. What in the hell is going to climb into that? I mean, because that's a big freaking cave, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, is it
we know these things use them.
Is it probably owned by a person or a entity?
I don't know. It used to be that was a campground. There was a campground right there at the bottom of the valley. All of that is marked no trespassing now. Every bit of it, going up and down the road to in and out of Moon Valley, all of that except for what the park, the state owns right there at the Moon Valley River access. The rest of it is all got the purple flags and the no trespassing signs.
And I bet they got some surveillance stuff out there too. Either
I would bet
either sensors or freaking cameras.
Let me show you what else I found. Okay. Now granted, this is just the one, but let me see if I can share them. But right on the other side of the valley is, if you guys have read that story that I wrote, that short story, it's in the new compilation, the one that's called Wrath of the Dogman.
Yes, I've read it.
Where he gets into that gunfight with the Dogman is right where I found these. And you can see the shell casing right there. When I was walking around over there, dude, I cannot tell you how many freaking shell casings I found. They were all over the place.
Really?
I didn't take very many pictures, but I found a crap load of shell casings. And where you would think they would shoot like the trees with a sign, there were no bullet holes. I don't know if they were shooting in the water. I don't have a clue what they were shooting at because nothing was shot up. Notice that sign? There's not a bullet hole one in that sign.
And usually if there's a sign in rednecks, there's going to be bullet holes in there somewhere.
Right. Rednecks will shoot at a sign. There ain't a bullet hole one in that sign. It's in pristine condition. And from, well, you can see where I took this picture, right down here where the grass is at, is gravel, just below it. And that's the parking area right here. And it was all along this area. Let me see if I've got another good one that shows the rest of it. Okay. I'm standing in front of that sign when I took this picture. So you can see how far back the gravel goes. Yep. I found shells from about where I was standing all the way back to here. And that was probably 150, 200 rounds. Just laying all over the place. It was all 9mm. Wasn't any rifle cartridges, nothing like that. It was somebody sprayed out a lot of 9mm ammo, and there were no bullet holes in the trees. I went up and looked.
I mean, are they shooting stuff in the river? Or are they throwing crap out in the river and shooting there? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I can tell you from experience, floating that very river, if you throw trash in that river, within 10 minutes, somebody will show up and ticket you because they watch that river. I don't know if they've got towers or where they're watching from, but I floated that river with guys that were throwing their beer bottles and breaking them on a gravel bar. I'm like, you idiots are going to get in trouble. They watch this river. They're like, there ain't nobody out here for miles. I kept all my trash in a dry bag. They were breaking their bottles, and not 10 minutes later, we heard a motor. They caught up with us, made us pull over to the side and get out of the canoes. And one of them talked to his radio, and then he looked at it, was speaking into his radio. Then he looked at one of the other guys, and he started pointing at everybody that broke a bottle, and they ticketed every one of them. And we never saw them.
Well, they got cameras, man.
They were watching us on that river.
And why would they have cameras on a river like that?
Right. I have never seen the cameras. But I know, and this was not far downstream from here, because we used to float from Moon Valley to Bennett Springs all the time. It's a great float, and it was on this float between this and Bennett Springs, which is about 5 or 6 miles downriver. It's a pretty good afternoon float, It was on this stretch of river where that happened.
Weird. So,
Just bizarre stuff.
that's quirk.
Just my on the weird side.
Roxanne says, could have been from a satellite they watched on. It could have been. I mean, I can't imagine they dedicate a satellite to watching the Niangua River. But anything's possible. But I think more likely they had spotters somewhere, or they had cameras hidden along that river. Edie says casings and no blood. I don't know how long those casings had been there. There could have been blood and had washed away because it's been a pretty wet year so far. But I found a crap load of those casings, and I didn't find trees or targets or shot up beer cans. I didn't find anything that to indicate what they'd been shooting at. So unless they were shooting in the water at something or shooting off into the trees around us at something else, I don't know. But that area is pretty thickly wooded. And the obvious things that you think rednecks would shoot at, like the sign and the trees, were fine. I found no bullet holes in them. Don Donaldson says, DA, what book are you working on now? Well, ironically, the one I'm writing right now is set right there in that valley. It's called The Dark Frontiers, Cry of the Wendigo. And hopefully I'll have it done in the next week or two. Dr. 45-120 Sharp says those casings are fresh. That's what I thought too. They weren't corroded. They were still shiny. And like I said, I found a crap load of those casings. Billy Mitchell says, I wonder how many 9 it would take to take a Dogman down. A lot, I would say, unless you knew exactly where to hit it.
All of them.
Edie's right. Dogmen are known to be on that river.
I'm going to say that's a solid point Edie just had. Thank you.
That's the reason I set some of my books in that area, because there's a lot of creepy stories coming out of that valley.
And Camo Dad, I thought the same thing. Surprised they didn't police up those shells. But maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a government organization, because if it was a government organization, then I'm pretty sure they would probably police the crap out of their brass.
If it'd been a cop shooting at somebody, the brass would have been collected as gone into evidence.
Yeah.
It's the same thing when you pop a taser, you have to collect the cartridge, and they're little tags that are inside a taser cartridge that have data encoded on them. They call them aphids. Yeah, they call them laser confetti. They call them aphids. But each one of them is marked. And you can tell what taser cartridge, when it was manufactured, just by those little aphids. So you always have to gather those up, or at least some of them, to go in the evidence bag. And you got to send out the taser cartridge with it. I've got a couple of those damn things around here somewhere.
Yep.
On my desk somewhere.
And don't forget the blast doors. You got to collect.
Yeah, I got to collect those. I got in trouble once for drawing a smiley face on my blasters.
I love it. That's awesome.
I drew it and pointed it at a guy at court. When we de-escalated the situation, my sergeant looked over and goes, "What in the is on your taser cartridge?" I'm like, "Well, it's just a smiley face." It's like, you can't do that. Got my ass chewed.
Have a nice day. Woo, man, it has flown by. We got like 5 minutes left. Holy smoke!
It has gone by.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's start going and winding things down. Robbie, I kind of hinted on it earlier. Tell us a little bit about the sergeant that the reason your badge is draped in black.
Sunday night. Sometime I don't know the exact time. It was, when we were coming back from the LBL, because I found out about it when I woke up Monday morning getting ready for work. Sergeant Brian Atkins from Pickens County Sheriff's Office 15-year plus veteran. Only health problem that I know of that he had at one point was he had high blood pressure, but he'd lost a bunch of weight. This is one of those guys that nobody ever had a bad word to say about. He was one of those that just everybody loved him. He was one of the sergeants on Charlie shift for the sheriff's office, which is when I'm on the road and work the road again, other than when I'm in the school. It's the opposite rotation from what I work, but just he didn't matter. It didn't matter if you've known him for 2 minutes or 2 years or 20 years. He was one of those that was going to help you. He was an advisor for the explorers, so we got a lot of the younger guys that are, got 5 years or less experience, 7 to 5 years or less experience. He was a big part of their training, so this is hitting those younger guys really. I mean, it hits us all hard, but he was kind of like kind of one of their role models. And Brian was just a good guy all around. I mean, he never met a stranger. He'd sit there and do anything he could to try to help you, and he was just a great guy. His nephew is one of our reserves. His other nephew, Justin, still works for the sheriff's office too, and he's actually on my rotation. And his daughter is a supervisor in dispatch, and he's been in the fire service too. So he's a true first responder all the way around. Or he was. Good guy, but he had a heart attack early Monday morning, late Sunday night, whatever it was, and passed away. So they've got his service tomorrow, and we're helping out with the traffic and everything to get them through town. So,
Well, God bless him and his family, man, and his department.
Exactly. Sure. And folks, that's why we talk so much about the 22 a Day Foundation and the what is the name of that other website?
Valhalla Project.
The Valhalla. The Till Valhalla Project, but it's the Officer Down Memorial page.
Oh yeah, ODMP.
ODMP.com. They chronicle officers that were lost, not only in the line of duty, but to other causes as well. And the numbers are kind of staggering. But we lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and that's not even counting the number of first responders. We lose entirely too many, and in this case, wasn't that? But we still lost a valuable member of the community.
Well, last week we lost one of our firefighters last week to suicide.
Oh, mercy,
folks! These guys, these men and women in uniform, whether that veteran or first responder, active duty, they sometimes see things that they can't forget. They see things that haunt them, and sometimes those demons win. And at least 22 times a day, the demons are winning. Robbie and Doc and I will all tell you, we've all been there and seen things and experienced things we wish we could forget. But it's that camaraderie. It's those brothers that help you share the load, because it doesn't make your demons go away, but it's good to know that somebody's there to be with you when you've got to face them. You don't have to face them alone.
Amen.
And definitely check out the 22 a Day Foundation, the Till Valhalla Project, because this is something very near and dear to my heart. I've seen far too many friends buried under that flag.
Amen.
Last call on a radio for a first responder, or taps for a fallen soldier. Some of the saddest things you'll ever hear. And I've stood in the rain at attention holding a salute as the casket went by, and I've been there when the flags were folded, and I've cried for people I never even met because they were brothers and sisters in uniform. And check on your first responder friends and your veteran friends, because sometimes it's the ones you don't even think are having trouble at all that need it the most.
Amen.
Reach out, shoot them a text, tell them you're thinking of them. Tell them they're ugly. Tell them you love them.
Amen.
Make it awkward.
And I'm gonna say this, man: a happy smile will hide a lot of pain.
That it will.
It absolutely will.
Yeah.
And we all have those days, but we can just everybody remember you don't have to face those days alone. There is someone out there, and if you don't have anybody else, reach out to one of us. I mean, I'd rather hear your story than read your obituary.
Amen to that.
And, I may not be, I may be stuck here in the Midwest, but it don't mean I can't, listen to somebody and talk and just be there. And all of us are capable of that. So let your first responder and veteran friends and family know that you care about them and that you're there for them and how much they mean to you. And don't let those demons win, because 22 a day is 22 too many.
Amen. I mean, that's affected all of us personally, man.
Yeah, it has.
One of my best buddies has been gone for almost 4 years. And I think about him damn near every day. So listen to that story. Listen to that phone call. If they call, don't let it go to voicemail.
Right.
Answer that call and call them and do some buddy checks and check on them. Believe me.
And it means more than you'll ever know. It really does. And again, just reach out to those whatever uniform they wore, it doesn't matter. And let them know they're not fighting these demons alone.
Amen. Amen.
And just be there. And it doesn't take hardly any of your day just to be there for somebody. And it makes a world of difference. And so folks, keep the folks we mentioned tonight in your prayers and your thoughts. And remember, there are a lot more out there that we don't even know about, but that doesn't make them any less our brothers and sisters just because we don't know. So for all of you who have worn any kind of uniform in any capacity, from the bottom of our hearts here at Ex Machina, thank you for everything you have done, everything you sacrificed, everything you gave up, and everything you gave for this country. As the saying goes, all gave some, and some gave all. And that leads us to how we close out the show. There's an old Irish drinking song, and it's called "The Parting Glass." And I would like to ask you all to join us in a toast. And when you listen to the words of this song, it's not just talking about raising a glass to the folks at the end of the day at the bar. It's talking about those that aren't there to lift the glass with us anymore. So if you guys will join me in the toast, we'll raise our glasses to the fallen and to our brothers and sisters in uniform, no matter where they are, and dedicate this show to the sergeant we lost here in South Carolina. So thank you guys so much, and we'll close her out with this toast. But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night, and joy be to you all. Good night, everyone. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on Ex Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.